Hello, I'm Dr. Flux, and today we're going to be doing a build on this Full Metal Edition Worker Kunlun. Now to do this build, you're going to need a few tools. So we have a thick lubrication and then a thinner one, the slug slime. Included in this kit is a M2 Allen key. You'll need a driver, and this is just kind of nice to help identify all the different types of screws. This is just a thread gauge. And just a side note, when using a countersunk screw on the thread gauge, you have to include the actual head because that's part of the length. Also, we have some blue thread locker. We actually don't show this in the build, but if you would like to have a more semi-permanent build, considering this is metal on metal, then we recommend using this. And of course, as you're working with this, you're gonna get greasy and have thread locker, so it's recommended to have some paper towels. With that all said, let's go ahead and jump right into this build. Now to work on the right rear shell. Now before we jump into this, we're gonna go ahead and lube some stuff. So first off, we're gonna use some slug slime on the roller here. It's a little bit of a thinner lubrication, so that should be better for the small roller. And on this channel here where the trigger bar is, use slug slime. We found that this is supposed to be a thinner lubrication. I actually kind of just wipe a little bit of it away. You just want a very light coat in this area. And then everything else that is metal on metal, we're gonna use some super lube, which is a little bit thicker. We'll start by lubricating this post down here, which the magazine release sits on, and we might as well just put that in right now. And then back here where the catch sits, we'll throw some lubrication in there. Now let's put the catch and spring guide in, making sure that this slope is angled in the correct orientation. Drop that in, and we will be using a 12mm small compression spring. Now for the trigger, which also has a spring, this is the 24mm small compression spring, which goes right here. And then this falls in place right here. So you want a nice, smooth trigger pull. And now to install the plunger tube and bolt. Now this does come pre-lubricated, so it should be ready to go. We put our spring in, and before we drop that in, we're gonna add a little bit of lubrication onto this track here, using some slug slime. And also these little rollers, you can add a drop on each one, kind of make sure that they are all lubricated. These do come pre-lubricated from the factory, but it's nice to have a little bit more on there. And we're gonna put this onto the spring guide and drop it in place. Now we're gonna sandwich this together with the left rear shell. This is gonna be held together with 5 of the M3 by 20mm screws. 1 up here, and then 4 back here. And using a 2mm driver, we're gonna tighten these down. Now we're gonna install the pistol grip. Now we do this by sliding this on, then we pull this back so that we can get to the screw holes and put this in here, and then drop into M3 by 25mm screws. And just put that up for now. At this point, you can set aside the rear assembly. And now to the barrel and front right shell. Now, when you receive this barrel, it might be pre-installed. I'm gonna show you how that is done. Slide that on like that. We're gonna put the P-car on the front, slide this all the way forward, and then lock it down. That way this will not get in the way when we're installing up here. And now to thread the breech onto the barrel. You'll see there's 2 channels right here. That slides right onto there. And now to sandwich on the front left shell, making sure that everything is sitting in the right spot. Now, these screws are all different sizes, so let's kind of run down what's what. This screw right here is a M3 by 25. This one right here is a M3 by 16. This one is an M3 by 20, and this one is an M3 by 20. Make sure those are in the right spot because on the other side, you actually have some cosmetic screws that they can run into. Now to attach the front to the back. This is done with 2 screws. We have an M3 by 25mm and an M3 by 30mm for the top. This just slides on like this, and with your third hand, try to slide that there, and then this here, and screw those in. In this next part, we're gonna install all the rails. This is done with the M3 by 8 screw. We'll start with this one up here. Flip it over and then do this bottom one. And flip that over, do this other side one, and now the top rail. Now we're going to install the sights. Now these screws are M3 by 28. They do come pre-installed, and that is a countersunk screw like everything else on this build. And just a pro tip, as you're setting this on, make sure not to cover your screws for disassembly later, so you don't have to move these around. And now for the back sight, once again, being mindful of that screw there. Now we're going to install the back rubberized pieces. Now there is a little bit of a trick to this. If we kind of pinch these in like this, put the corners in, and then push down, it will kind of seat into place. Then you just pop this back part in and flip it over and do the same on the other side. And for the butt stock, you just slide it on. Now this next part is an option for people who want to just put this together and leave it as it is. You can go ahead and peel this adhesive back and stick this down. Now if you're looking to get inside here and do spring swaps and other things, I'd recommend just leaving that like that. Now on this entire side of the blaster, these screws are actually cosmetic. There are 7 M3 by 8mm screws. Now if you lose any of these, there are plenty of extras. I believe the reason why they did this is to give the blaster a more refined look, so you're not looking at the back of a screw. You always see a screw head. So kind of nice. And now to install the magazine. It just goes right into the bottom like this. Prime the blaster back. And fire. Really nice. Yeah, so in closing, this blaster is absolutely beautiful. And a little backstory about this is when Worker first launched the regular Kunlun, they kind of teased of a CNC aluminum version. And we chose to order a limited batch of orange anodized. And to be honest, I think this looks beautiful. It actually has kind of a darker, almost like a gold or a dark orange. I just absolutely love how it turned out. Well, if you made it this far in the video, I want to thank you for watching. I'm Dr. Flux. As always, be safe and happy foam flinging.